Welcome, I'm Dante St James, and this is the Mad Men Digital Marketing Power Hour. Explanation about the Mad Men side of it will come, but first of all, apologies to those of you who showed up a lot earlier. This was originally scheduled to be at this time, but there was a bit of a miscommunication there. So thank you for being patient and coming along. Let's get it underway and waste no time. So I'm sure there's going to be a ton of questions that come up along the way, and I do welcome those in the chat window and through the Q&A if you're live with us on the Zoom. Just completely blanked out on what the name of the program is that we're using right here. Let's get that screen shared and get underway. Well, first of all, a quote from Don Draper, the character in the Mad Men television show, short for Madison Avenue Men or Ad Men, sort of a play on words there. People want to be told what to do so badly that they'll listen to anyone. And I think we've seen shades of that lately, particularly when it comes to misinformation about pandemic, about health, all those kind of things. That people are so wanting to know what the information is they need to survive that they will listen to almost anyone to get that information. What we're going to cover today is all around what Don Draper, the character, would say if he was around in the time of digital marketing, as opposed to regular, television and billboard advertising. We'll look at one of the big men, and this actually came up in the show, was this circle of threat. It's a very old idea, but it is very, very valuable to know and understand in the way that different pieces of convincing copywriting can be written and how you then bring that into digital platforms. We're also going to use the circle of threat in scarcity campaigns, and I'll explain more about what a scarcity campaign is a bit later. We're going to also be using it for more inspirational campaigns. So some of you might think, well, I don't want to scare people. I don't want to threat people. You can actually inspire people through this very same method to take the path that you need them to take for whatever your business happens to be. And then we're going to look at how to then use that to make graphics in Canva and then to turn it into, I might even have time to make a little video that sort of follows this path of what the circle of threat is. Now, the circle of threat is not you're making threats to people. It's definitely not that. It's probably needs to be more so maybe renamed something like the circle of convincing or something like that. It's a bit friendlier than the circle of threat. But bear with me because you'll understand what I mean by that. This is brought to you by Business Station, and the Digital Solutions Program from the Australian government has been reformed and remade into a very different situation now. And for those of you who are very new to this program or don't know the program at all, there's a chance for you at the end of this to find out how you can then go ahead and register for one-to-one support with myself and others in the program to help you to take some of these ideas and bring them into reality. This will also be available on YouTube a little bit later on. So because we're not doing this as a live workshop, it's just a webinar, no privacy things are going to happen in here. So you can watch this through either Business Station's YouTube channel, which I've got hundreds of videos in there for you to watch from myself and all the other advisors. Or if you just want to watch my stuff, just go along to Dante St James on YouTube. I'm the only one in there, so you're not going to have any trouble finding me at all. Some of my background includes my own businesses, Clickstarter, which is my digital agency. I have a training business I do, which is under my own name, dantestjames.com, and recently bought into a revival of an old mobile phone reselling brand called Cellular One. It used to be very active, particularly in Queensland, but across most of Australia as well. So I've revived that brand and bring it back selling NBN and mobile plans as well. Very, very cheap. Talk to me later about that. I'm not here to sell mobile phones. What I'm here to tell you about is that all this stuff I've done helps me to be able to bring you a whole bunch of information I've been able to, number one, apply to my own businesses. Number two, being able to apply to the hundreds of businesses I've worked with as a digital agency. And then as a trainer for Facebook, Google, and through October Business Month with the Northern Territory Government, the Queensland Tourism Advisory Council, and Small Business Development Corporation, WA, I've been able to actually get in front of tens of thousands of businesses to be able to teach them a whole bunch of stuff that hopefully has helped them to grow and stabilize their businesses too. So if you're not aware of what Mad Men is, it's a television show, a very successful television show, which was based upon the mostly men, but also the women of Madison Avenue's leading advertising agencies back in the 1960s specifically, and then coming into the 70s as well. It was very extravagant era. It was all about, smoking cigars, and back when you could smoke cigarettes in offices, that kind of era. And then also for, I guess, the very often sexist, homophobic, racist kind of stuff that was going on in these places. And it was a reflection of its time. But a lot of today's most used techniques when it comes to advertising and marketing came out of that very era and of people like Mad Men. This guy here, the very handsome John Hamm, played a character called Don Draper. And what we're going to be basing a lot of this off today is some of the principles that he came up with particularly one principle that was mentioned in the show a couple of times that we're going to really drill down on. So as part of this, we're going to look at, firstly, what Don Draper would say about digital marketing today, and some of the suggestions he would make from the quotes he actually had on the show for what works in today's more digital marketing advertising environment. The first one is that you are the product, you feel something, that's what sells. You are the product, you feel something, that's what sells. This outlines that there needs to be some kind of belief in what you're trying to sell. It's never a particularly fun thing to watch someone trying to sell something they don't believe in. If you need an example of that, go to any big chain store, be it Kmart or Big W or Coles or Woolworths, and get someone to try and convince you in that store, if you can get hold of anyone, of why you should buy one product over another. And they just simply don't care. They've got no skin in the game. They don't believe in it. They probably have no point of reference for that particular product. Compare that, though, to someone working somewhere like JB Hi-Fi. It's an incredibly successful brand, and the whole of that is being that when you step in there, you're talking to someone about a computer or about a piece of audio or a bit of technology. They know about it. They are working it because they love it. They're not just working there for a job. They actually really enjoy being around the technology. So they have a belief in what they're selling. So it's much, much easier for them to tell you, look, I know this is $300 more, but this is what it's going to do for you. You're going to have it for that much longer, and it's going to allow you to do this, this, and this, the other thing that is cheaper won't let you do. Because they believe that, and they actually really believe it, and it's not just them trying to sell you a higher priced product, you tend to be feeling more likely to believe them on that. Belief causes some kind of emotional response, things you can't really fake. And then when I say can't really fake it, I'm talking about things such as an emotional response such, I believe in this, therefore my body language changes. I gesture. When I believe in something, I really gesture more, because it's like I'm trying to really just express what it is that I believe in so strongly. So when that comes about and you really want to get to that point where you really, truly, truly believe in something, then it's not that hard for someone to believe that you believe in it, because there you have an emotional response that they can't help having an emotional response to as well. And that's empathy. That's just simple empathy, where people who believe in something talk to someone who doesn't believe in it, and through just pure empathy and the ability to be able to read emotional cues and body language and the tone of voice and the sincerity that's coming across from someone to someone else, causes them to have that emotional response, which makes them more receptive to be able to buy what you're selling, or to believe what you're believing, or to do the thing that you want them to do. So when you are the product and you sell, like you're selling a product, you might pick up a can of Pepsi Max and you want to sell that product. What you're actually selling is you to someone else, your belief in that product, what you think of it, and how it sits with you. Don Draper also said, if you don't like what's being said, change the conversation. So negative comments and negative remarks are always going to slip through at some point. There's always someone who's not going to like what you do. There's always someone who's going to complain about what you do. And I probably, out of the how many hundreds of one-to-one advisory sessions I've done through the ASBAS program, had maybe 3 complaints. I could focus in on those 3 complaints and go, wow, that is like really bad. I'm such a failure because I had 3 complaints over 3 years from hundreds and hundreds of one-to-one advisory sessions. Now, I don't know that 3 complaints against hundreds, and I'm talking about like probably about 500 to 600 of these sessions, that I actually have much to compare that with. And it doesn't hold enough weight for me to say, well, I'm a good advisor or I'm a bad advisor. It's just simply that I got through 600 different sessions, and 3 of them had a complaint attached to them. Negative comments will slip through, and sometimes they will make you feel bad. And I remember receiving those three comments that were negative and thinking, wow, I don't feel great about that. I feel like I've let those people down. But ultimately, to move on to the people who I could serve and who would actually have a good experience, I had to then go, well, I can't now just, fall back on the fact that I'm so bad at this. I have to serve other people. I have to be better. So how you respond then to a negative comment or remark, especially in today, like Facebook reviews or recommendations, Google reviews, any of that kind of thing, means that you have the power to turn someone around. So it's less about what they say and more about how you respond. So in the response, acknowledging that someone hasn't had a good experience is the first thing you do. Secondly, you go, I'd like the opportunity to make this better for you. Can I give you a call? Can you call us and we'll discuss this for you? And that way it says that you're not going to go in and enter into a fight with them, because no one wins comment wars. No one wins that at all. So what you're doing is opening up the door and saying, hey, we accept that this probably was a bad thing and you had a bad time. So what we want to do is make that better for you. How can we do that for you? You have the chance to change that conversation around from being a very negative experience to being a much more positive one. And you can do that through reviews online. You can do that through emails that are sent to you as well. All you got to do is fight that urge to bite back at someone and just remember that this is someone who is expressing an opinion, and that's incredibly valuable. It may not be true, it may not be valid, but it's still valuable. The value of that comment they're making or that email they're sending is that it gives you a chance to reflect upon what happened, make a decision on whether they are full of crap or whether they actually got something to say. And to be honest, in the 3 complaints I got, all 3 of them were absolutely valid, and I did miss the mark on all those 3 times. So I had to accept that and send it out to those people to say, yes, I did miss the mark. I'd like to be able to make it up to you. Let's see what we could do. None of them took that up. So like, okay, that's fine. I did what I could do to try and change that conversation. You're good. Get better. Stop asking for things. No one in the digital world owes you anything, not even Facebook. Facebook does not owe you followers. Facebook does not owe you easy access to followers. Facebook does not owe you a massive return on investment because you spent $10 boosting a post. No one owes you anything. The idea of entitlement that goes on in digital marketing is just phenomenal, because I think at some stage someone boosted something and they talked about it in a webinar and they said, I spent $10 and I made $50,000. And we've got this idea fixed in our heads that marketing is cheap because it's digital now. Now, whilst it is cheap when it compares to television and radio in major cities, by God, it is definitely cheap compared to that. But the idea that it is cheap at all is something we need to move past. We need to move past that marketing is free. Marketing is a cheap thing. Marketing is something that any old person can do, and you, with your $10 boosted post, can reach millions of people and make thousands of dollars. Digital marketing constantly changes. The more people who are on the platform advertising, the more people you're up against. What happened in the last 4 years is that the whole return on investment got lower for lower spenders, simply because all the corporates moved into the space. The advertising agencies, the corporate agencies, the big insurance companies and banks, and all the big companies that weren't wanting to get involved in social media advertising and were doing a lot of other things, well, they moved in and they took a lot of the time away, and it means that there's less room for us small guys to be able to compete. So it's going to cost that little bit more for us to do. Now, you also don't have to spend thousands of dollars a month to do this and to be successful at it, especially if you're a local business serving local people. If you don't know how to work with the platforms and you don't know how to get the most you can out of them with the small budget you've got, and you still don't need a huge budget, then spend time learning about it, using things like the Facebook Blueprint tools, which will help you to learn more about how to better use Facebook's ad platforms. Google's tutorials on Google Ads will show you how to do so much better at Google Ads than what you're probably doing right now. I know that when I first advertised on Facebook, I was so shocked with the amount of attention that came to the page because of the ad that I ran for $8 or something for about a week. I was intoxicated with that idea that I spent $8 and I got like 10,000 people coming to the page. That was amazing. Got all these follows, but did it actually make money? No, it didn't, because the business I was working for had no way of actually monetizing that attention coming through to them. So if you're not sure how to do that, do things like one-to-one consultations with people on the digital solutions program. Do more of these little things as well. In the next month, I'll be doing a Google Ads campaign. In fact, I think this month I'm already doing a Facebook sales funnel. I think about 2 weeks time, so Facebook sales funnel webinar. And then I think in October we'll look at doing something that much more interactive as a workshop to help you to get more out of these things. So take advantage of these things as they come along. Another Don Draperism is make it simple but significant. Simplicity when it comes to marketing is clarity, especially on digital platforms where the attention is so fleeting and it's so short and it can't really, sorry, my doorbell's ringing, but it's, you don't have more than about 3 seconds to get someone's attention. So it is very, very significant that you get that attention. Simplicity is clarity, and clarity to the consumer is safety. People feel safe if the message is clear. If the message is clear, it's easily understood. When customers feel safe, they feel safe to buy. And when you're working on digital platforms where there are so many messages coming down the pipe all at one time, it's not like TV where you go on ad break and then you get the ads. You've got that constantly coming to you through feeds, through ads, through banners on websites. It's quite relentless. There's a lot of advertising coming at you. So keep those product descriptions really simple. Keep those services so easy to understand. Your product titles, your page titles, short, simple, but significant. Do some research to make sure you've got a really good idea of just just exactly what your product is and who it's for. So people can immediately look at it and go, that's for me. I feel safe buying now. Don Draperism number 5 is success comes from standing out, not fitting in. Copying the look and feel of other people, particularly coaches and consultants, I'm talking to you, copying what everyone else likes to do with their frilly frou-frou dresses or their suits and standing on the runways of civil aviation out the front of a Learjet or something like that. Trying to do that whole I'm a Bitcoin bro and I've made my millions, look at me with my private jet, or even copying that like that lookalike Canva look, which is usually here's a desk that's impossibly clean with a MacBook Pro sitting over there, a cup of coffee and a sprig of flowers just sort of spread on the desk. It's this thing that we want to do and pretend that that's the state of our desk. Now, I have a fairly tidy desk, but it's nothing like that. It's a desk that's fit for purpose, and fit for purpose doesn't mean it's going to look perfect. And in fact, I don't want it to look perfect because no one comes and looks at my desk anyway. It needs to work for me. So copying the look and feels of others, using those same Canva templates that everyone else is using, or even going for a very generalized audience is not going to help you in a digital platform where millions of people are present on the platform and millions of people are also advertising to a general audience. There's 75 million businesses on Facebook right now. At any one time, 17 million Facebook businesses are advertising. So you're up against a lot of stuff. So you're looking the same as everyone else, and the looking the same as what's in the feed is not going to help you. You need to, number one, make sure your look and feel is different so people notice it. It has to stand out. Standing out, not fitting in. Secondly, knowing that your niche is right, knowing that you know exactly who your customer is. So like, oh, but I want all women to take advantage of this, or I want all men to be able to buy this product. That's not going to help you because there's 100 other advertisers in your market also going for that general audience. So you want to cut through to people who have a very specific interest in a very specific thing you do and a very specific problem that you solve. Following trends, whether it's TikTok or Instagram trends or themes, isn't going to help you stand out. You're just going to look like everything else on the screen in front of them. This one I really like. Spend 50% of your time writing your headline. This is something which is repeated in newsrooms, ad agencies everywhere. The idea that you get your topic right, and then the rest will follow. Getting attention is the hardest thing you're going to do. The writing of a blog, the writing of an ad, the designing of a layout, none of that's as hard as coming up with the initial idea that's going to get attention. Like I said, in a feed where there's thousands of things screaming for attention, in a world where there's television, radio, and billboards, and bus backs, and sides of taxis, and the backs of magazines, and the doctor's surgery, and there's like signs up there asking you to get vaccines or asking you to immunize your children, or it doesn't matter where you go, everything's advertising at you. And in digital world, that's even more so. Every single square inch of property seems to be pushing something to you. So getting attention is actually hard. So spend time, and a lot of time of what you're doing in your work, getting that attention right. I know that when I'm organizing my own marketing, I spend most of the time just obsessing about what the topic is I'm going to do and doing the research it takes to get that right topic. So I know that when I'm going to market with something, I'm going to market with something that's going to get the right kind of attention. And then work with the kind of headline that works with the platform. So make sure that if it's on Facebook, short, sharp, you don't have much time. TikTok, even shorter and sharper. Everything's very, very short and sharp. On your website, though, may not be quite as short and sharp because you got room to move on there. And once people are coming to the website, the attention lingers a little bit longer than what it does, say, on a Facebook feed or on a Twitter feed or something like that. So we've had a look at Don Draper and what his attitudes would be, let's just say if he was advertising in the 2020s. Now we're looking at one of the most Madison Avenue methods of advertising that came out of the 60s, and it's still so relevant today. And I've used it in countless campaigns that are all very clear and do their job. Now, a whole lot of the reason why we don't have a lot of ads from small businesses on Facebook that do very, very well is because they follow no theme or no format. They just go, here's my thing, buy it. And it doesn't take into account the customer journey. It doesn't take into account where people are at. And it doesn't use the psychology of the customer in the buying process to your advantage. This is very much a to your advantage thing. And you'll see this repeated in everything from pest control ads to insurance ads. Oh my God, insurance ads do this almost shamelessly. Even like safety ads, government safety messages, all use this idea of a circle of threat. The circle of threat looks like this. Number one, you are vulnerable to a threat. Number two, it's okay, you can do something about that threat. Number three, here's what you can do about that threat. And fourth, go on, now do something about the threat. So the first one is, you are vulnerable to a threat. Two, you can do something about it. Three, here's what you can do about it. Four, now go and do something about it. Four very different steps with four very different outcomes with them. So the first one is, where you're vulnerable to a threat. This is playing on the idea that that people will fear missing out on something. If it's something that's exclusive, and this is what we call the scarcity, missing out on something, the potential fear of losing status, loss of property, loss of control, loss of life, even in the most horrible ways of using this, loss of opportunity. So anything that involves a fear of loss of some degree, and the fear of loss is a very strange motivator in human behavior, often more than the hope for gain. It's a really morbid way of saying that we actually are motivated more by what we may lose than what we may gain, which is sad, really. Think about it. This is supposed to come out through, it's not coming through right. Let me just quickly refresh this to make that picture come up right. There we go. Go to the right page. Sometimes Canva likes to drop out and not do what it's meant to do. And present. Now we're back on. So just tell me if you can't see that. So $100 note. The story of the $100 note is you find a $100 note in the street, you pick it up, you put it in your pocket, and you go, yay, you spend it. And within a day, it's forgotten. Like that whole thing is just gone. You don't really think too much of that $100 note. But if you lost that $100 note, if you're the other person, the other woman who lost that $100 note, you'll be beating yourself up about that. You'll be looking at it and go, oh my God, I cannot believe I'm so dumb. I'm so stupid. Holy crap. What did I do? I lost $100. That every time you open your wallet, you'll be saying, oh, I'm so stupid. I'm so dumb. We really beat ourselves up about things we lose, but we rarely celebrate very hard on what we've gained. And that's just one of those evolutionary things. It keeps us safe. It keeps us safe from harm and helps us to blend in so that we don't, become a tall poppy, because the tall poppy always is the first one to get cut down, right? So that fear of loss can be played out in this kind of campaign. Let's pretend we're a pest control place to start with. So first of all, step one is letting the customer know that they are vulnerable to a threat. So in this case, termites can damage your home, costing tens of thousands of dollars. So that's step number one. Then we go to number two. This is where we say, yeah, but you can do something about this threat. And you're teasing the fact that there is this bit of a solution to this problem, giving a bit of a taste of what that solution is without giving the whole thing away. So you're not delivering a whole bunch of information here. You're just teasing the fact that there is a solution to this problem. It's that whole thing of here's a problem, but don't worry, there's a solution to this. So that solution may play out like you can protect your family and property for as little as $299. So we're not saying what the solution is. We're just saying it's okay. There is a solution, and I'll give you a little taste of the fact that it's $299. So we've learned that termites can damage your home. That's the threat. Then you can do something about that threat is you can protect your family and property for as little as $299. Which takes us to step three, which is here's what you do about this threat. So what you're doing now is introducing the solution without overselling it. Remember, clarity is what makes people happy. They are happy and they're safe. Clarity brings safety. Safety makes people feel like they can buy. So you don't want to over-explain it and list a whole bunch of features and benefits here. All you need to do is just introduce what that solution is. Be very clear, be very short, and make it all about the fact that this is a solution. So let's look at our ad copy now. An annual termite check from ABC Pest Control finds issues before they become problems. So let's read that through. Termites can damage your home, costing tens of thousands of dollars. That's the threat. There's something you can do about that threat. You can protect your family and property for as little as $299. Here is the solution. An annual termite check from ABC Pest Control finds issues before they become problems. So we've seen what the threat is. We've been told there is a solution to the threat, and here is the solution to the threat. Then we have the payoff at the end. Now you've got to do something about that threat. It's great knowing about all this, but you actually need to do something about it. You're not going to get the benefits of this program or this product or this service until you actually do something about it. And this is where I've just written the same stuff in there, but it shouldn't say introduce the solution. What we're basically doing is creating a call to action. So I'll skip over to that and go, book your annual check now at abcpest.com.au and get the peace of mind you deserve. So we've got the threat. Termites can damage your home. We were told that it's okay. You can get over that threat. You can protect your family for as little as $299. Then third, we go, here is the solution, an annual termite check. Finally, the call to action, book your annual termite check now at abcpest.com.au. So that could easily just be as dark and as morbid as one day we're all going to die and it may leave our family in a mess with what to do with our belongings. Well, you can protect your family from the stress and strain after you go in an easy way. A will that's legal and binding before you leave helps to adequately distribute your estate to save your family from all that stress after you've gone. Book your time with us now, and we'll sit down and show you how to write the right kind of will so that you can make sure that the things that matter to you happen after your death. So it sounds a bit like morbid, but this sort of thing is the basis of all insurance ads. It's the basis of all pest control ads, as you were just seeing. It's the basis of all kinds of ads that work with the idea that something could go wrong if you don't do something about this. And it's something that you may not even know is something you need to look at. So something that requires a little bit of education. So that takes us then to what I call the scarcity campaign. And a scarcity campaign is based upon that fear of missing out. It's based upon the idea that you may not get this thing unless you act now. So this, idea of a pendant, this one-of-a-kind pendant is gone, it's gone. Once it's gone, it's gone. That's the threat. But you can do something about this you can add this unique piece to your collection right now. Here is what you do. Try it on in store or see the gorgeous photos on our website. That's what you can do about it. Now, what is the next step? The call to action. Go on, you deserve it. So in this scarcity campaign, this is a one-of-a-kind pendant, and quite literally that once this is gone, it's gone. There's no other quite like it. So that'd be scarcity for a particular thing, which is I guess, trying to make sure that sorry, we've got WhatsApp going on in the background here. I just need to close it down instead of it coming up over the top of my voiceover. So once this kind of pendant's gone, it's gone. It's got scarcity. It's like, for instance, something like a coaching campaign. So you could be a personal trainer. So you could say our October 2021 class is almost full. There are just a few spaces left. Check out the schedule on the website to see if it works for you, but hurry, these last few spots will fill fast. That sounds like any ad, really. There's just any ad that's saying that you've got a limited time to do something and explaining what the thing is you're going to get. So the threat is that the class is almost full. It's okay because there are a few spaces left. What you can do about it is check out the schedule on the website and see if it works for you. And your call to action is hurry up, do it now, because these last few spots will fill fast. So all these are just variants on the same thing, working on a different state of whatever your product or whatever your service happens to be. So I've got an opportunity here to now play with someone's in particular. I'll just ask someone to volunteer in the chat to say, hey, I'd like to do a version of this with myself. And you tell me what kind of, what your business is and where you are. So just write into the chat just now what your business is and where you are. If you'd like to participate, I could probably do a couple of these. So there's no rush to just do one. It's not a fear of missing out, limited time only offer. We can just look at someone who's got a business that would like to have a go at this with me. So the idea is we're going to look at what the threat is, the fact that you can do something about it, what you can do about it, and then at the end, what the call to action is in writing that out. So I don't seem to have any, there we go. Alison's coming in, health reset program. So very, very similar to one of the examples we gave. So what we could look at, Alison, if you don't mind, Alison, I wouldn't mind bringing you on to have a chat with me so we can actually, I guess, look at what it is you do. So just briefly, Alison, tell me about what your program is and what your business does.
Okay, I'm a social marketing company. So sorry, I don't know why my camera's not on there. I'm not sure whether that's, I haven't closed it, but sorry about that. So basically I have a social marketing company, and at the moment we've got what we call a 30 Days to Healthy Living and Beyond program commencing next week. It's an exclusive group run online. The online part is free, and you purchase a pack of products of all in, which is obviously a bit more expensive. So it includes a couple of meals a day, supplements, etc. There's a smaller version, a healthy habits version, which is you still join the same group, but you only have a handful of the products if you want to sort of test the waters. And then there's what we call a green gut glow. So basically it's just one aspect of commencing the program. There's a health and wellness coach that runs a daily program via Facebook, and that's predominantly it.
Okay, so the product is a healthy living 30-day program. You've got a group. The group part is free, but it's the products that you buy that help you to go through this program.
That's correct.
Cost you the money. Okay, so health is usually a really, really simple one to play with because it's got a very built-in threat, and that threat is that you don't realize. Come on, I need to write it in. You don't. It's taking a long time to react. Sorry. Come on, you can do it. You don't realize how important your health is until it's gone.
Yep.
I'm not going to bother writing this because it's just taken too long to actually translate on here. The internet connection's really, really super delayed at the moment. So don't realize how important your health is until it's gone. So that's good. Then we work on, okay, so if that's the start, that's the threat, then we can move on to something such as, if that's then where it is, then we go back to you can do something about that. So the good news is you can do something in the next 30 days, it will completely transform your health. So that's great. We know that. Then the solution, so here's what you actually do with it, will be sign up for our group and find out how you can turn around your health in 30 days to live a more happy, fulfilling life. Then the call to action is do it now.
Love all of that. I have a restriction because we're in the direct selling game.
Okay.
We are really restricted on our wording, and this is one of the problems, I suppose, that I'm going to throw in here now, because we can't make any medical claims, even though we know that our products work, and we do have some testimonials that we can use. We've got to be very careful. We can't make, the 30 days is going to transform your life. We believe that it will, and we've seen the results, but we're unable to actually make those sorts of statements being a direct selling.
So this is when you go now, so you move away from medical impacts and that to feelings, lifestyle, essentially.
Yes.
So
yes.
that can be things like the threat is that when you don't feel good, you don't operate at your best.
Yep, perfect.
So you're going for feelings now. So that's a threat. So you can feel better and get more out of life. That's the teaser.
Yep.
The solution is our 30-day program helps you to get back more of life and operate at the level that life demands. So again, it's all about lifestyle and performance rather than making promises about health outcomes.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally, your call to action would be sign up for our free group now to find out more. Or you might have a landing page or something like that you work with.
Yep.
So it still works with the same thing. When you don't feel good, it's a threat. Here's the threat. Here's something that's reassuring you, saying, oh, you can do something about it. Yep. Here's what you can do about it. And then finally, do something about it. That makes sense?
Yep, totally.
Yeah, so it's actually a nice little format that helps you to write things that work through the full gamut of someone not realizing that there's a threat to their comfort, to their lifestyle, to their money, whatever it is they feel it's threatened, but then takes you through that full explanation of, yes, I've told you there's a threat. The good news is you can feel better about it. Here's how you feel better about it. And all you need to do is do this. So it's a really simple place for people to go along. It's very, very clear, and that will be completely compliant.
Yeah.
And you can play with all those words to make it fit closer to what your demographic is you're going for, and to, sort of teeter towards the health stuff without claiming health outcomes, I suppose. But it's like things that are more energy and feeling good and getting more out of life, all those sort of lifestyle ways of explaining better health.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking a bit of time to do that. It was I know it's not always the easiest thing for people to step up and take part in this stuff, but thank you so much, Alison, sorry for that.
All good.
So then we move on to the next step, which is going outside of this and into the world of inspiration. So it doesn't have to be a threat that's like our pest control or insurance or, funeral plans and all that sort of thing. This kind of thing can be really, really inspirational at the same time. It doesn't have to present a threat as what we classically think a threat is. So an inspirational version of the circle of threat could be simply, here's the threat. Imagine getting to the end of your life having never seen Uluru at sunset. You can do something about it. Now it's cheaper than ever to get to Uluru. Number 3, which is, here's the solution. Jetstar can take you there for $89 each way from Brisbane. Number 4, check availability. This is your call to action. Check the availability and book your Uluru experience at jetstar.com. So this is so much friendlier and so much lighter and so much nicer than the idea of, oh, you're going to miss out on something. Oh, that's going to be terrible. I'm going to put a threat in front of you and make you feel better, but feel bad. This one's almost from the minute you come about, you're not imagining, even it's asking you, imagine getting to the end of your life having never seen Uluru at sunset. What it's actually doing in the mind is actually making you think of Uluru at sunset, not about missing out on it. But it immediately then pays it off and says, well, it's cheaper than ever to get there now, so you might as well do it because Jetstar can take you there for this price and you can book it right now. You can instantly gratify this idea that you're going to go and see Uluru at sunset. Bit of a bittersweet thing for me because I actually booked an Uluru sunset thing last month and couldn't get there. Now, even though I live in the Northern Territory and the Uluru is in the Northern Territory, you can't actually get to Uluru from Darwin without going on a very expensive lot of charter flights between Darwin, Alice Springs, and then Uluru. So I had to go through Melbourne, which of course put me overnight in Melbourne in a hotspot, which meant I couldn't get back in the Northern Territory. So I had to cancel that trip. So I looked at that and said, well, thankfully I've already seen Uluru at sunset 15 years ago, but it's made me want it even more. So imagine getting to the end of your life and never, just vary it up. Imagine getting to the end of your life and not really fulfilling what you thought your capability in life was going to be. Well, it's okay because it just takes a few steps for you to get on the right journey to becoming a more full expression of yourself. Our course can help take you from 0 to hero in just 6 weeks, allowing you to get more out of life and to be the person you know you were born to be. Book now for your free discovery call at mydiscoveryexperience.com and find out what's possible for you. So that's a much more inspirational version of it, rather than that sort of doom and gloom and, oh my God, I'm missing out. It's actually quite inspirational. So you can look at it from that point of view, or even look at it at, here's something, say, with Brene Brown touring Australia. Not everyone will have the opportunity to be inspired by Brene Brown live. So this is a bit of a twist on the threat. The second one is, yes, you can do something about that, but you can be one of the few who does. Number 3, tickets are available now for Brene's Australian tour in Brisbane and Perth. 4, be inspired to make the changes that matter. Book now. So the same thing, there's nothing threatening about this at all. It's just saying in general, and this is a spin on it, it's not saying that you specifically can miss out. It's saying not everyone has this opportunity to see Brene live. She's amazing, but you can be one of the few that can because you're in Australia. You can probably get, if you're not in a lockdown situation, to Brisbane and Perth. Or be inspired to make the changes that matter and book now. It's very inspiring now. It's not looking at threats. It's not looking at, oh, it's all doom and gloom. You're not going to get anything out of this. This is very inspirational. So this is where we swing it around for those who are specifically not comfortable with the idea of putting a threat in front of people and wanting to be a little bit more, I guess, uplifting in what they're presenting. So this style, we'll turn it over to you as well. Might bring someone else up. So I think Eve was asking before, she was wanting to have a go at that. So Eve, I'll bring you on live as well. Might be a moment. Let's promote to panelist and bring Eve on as any moment now. Here we go. Ask you to unmute. So Eve, thank you. Welcome for coming. Thank you for coming on, and thank you for taking your time to come to this delayed version of this particular webinar. Now, just for the benefit of those, I know who Eve is. I've worked with Eve before, but for the benefit of others, can you just let us know a little bit about what it is you're doing?
I've been a clinical psychologist for a long time, but I'm now retired. And so many people are anxious, depressed, give in to everyone, don't know how to say no. So I've written a book which is exactly how to do that. The nuts and bolts, straightforward, not technical. And it's now making it available to people on a website being built by Dante. And also for me to one the book, and there's some great reviews on it. And secondly, to do presentations or workshops so that they can really get a handle on the mother-in-law, the rampant child, the etc., etc. The boss that's like a dragon.
Awesome. So similarly, we're going to take that same approach that we did with Alison before, and we'll look at it in a document like this. So we're going to say that the inspirational threat could be something such as, for the first time in history, we are able to access all the information we need to feel better, or to feel more effective, whatever the words are you want to play with in there. So that's not saying that it's necessarily a threat. It's just saying, here's a bit of reality to start it off with. Now, what the assumption is there, well, great. Well, how do I access this? So then what we're teasing for the solution to be is, there is a specific way to learn how to take back, come on, your personal power. Then we'll go to what the solution is. In my book, you will learn how to say no without guilt. What's another thing you'll learn how to do from your book?
To challenge manipulation and threats.
And to maybe block threats.
Block threats.
From getting through to you, something like that. Like obviously you play around with these words a bit more that fit your way, getting through to you. So then we get call to action is, see more online at evedyer.com.au, and or buy the book at Amazon, something like that, right? So again, we're not saying a threat up front. We're just saying here's a bit of information to inspire you that for the first time in history, we've got access to almost everything we could possibly get access to help you feel like more effective in life. So then we go, okay, the good news is amongst all that mess of information, here's a specific way to learn you how to take back your personal power. And here's the instructions. Here's what the actual solution is. It's in my book. You'll learn how to do all this stuff. And finally, the call to action is see more online here or here. So that's that same sort of thing, but we're not going into a threat matrix. We're not going into the idea of, and for people who are quite easily triggered by some very threatening ads. Funnily enough, I'm someone who's very sensitive when I walk into shopping centers, where things are constantly just clamoring for my attention. I avoid shopping centers because they trigger me. They trigger, they have previously triggered panic attacks and things. I just don't feel comfortable going to shopping centers because there's so much trying to get my attention that I find it quite disturbing, and I need to walk out and catch my breath and prepare myself before I walk in again to be able to blank myself out. So often you need to wear noise cancelling little earbuds to help me to be able to cope with that. So the same way, there are people who are triggered by the kind of language we're looking at, particularly if you're going for threats such as your house could collapse from termite damage. That can really trigger people, not to take action, but to feel even more fearful and then not take on the things that they need to take on to rectify those errors. That's that whole thing of, I've got 2 days to study for an exam. I haven't studied yet, so I'm going to procrastinate because that seems like the logical thing to do because I'm scared. So you get all that, Eve. I know your understanding of psychology is far superior to mine, but you understand that there's ways of speaking that are going to be much more tied into the ways that people can receive that message. And your customer is very different to what, say, Alison's customer is. And Alison's customer is very different than what my customer is. And my customer is very different to what, say, Renee's customer might be for what Renee is selling.
Thank
So
you so
that sort of make it, quite clear how you would then form those messages.
It's really good to hear from someone else looking from the outside, not me with all the detail. Thank you. I'm really grateful.
That's why I always get someone else to read over my stuff as well, because I tell you, that is just, it's so hard to get people to get your own message out there, you need sometimes someone else who's got a different set of eyes and ears to be able to get some clarity where you can only find confusion. So let's continue on as we come to the last 10 minutes. We're going to look at using it with graphics. So in this part, I want to show you how this kind of thing plays out on things like ads or carousels or things that you're going to produce within social media or any sort of marketing material. So this can be one where it's, if you don't plan to run your 2022, it'll end up running you. You can take control of 2022 and make it work for you. The 2022 small business calendar helps you stay in touch and in control. Shop now at Coles, Woolworths, Kmart, Nextra, Officeworks, etc., etc. So this again is that threat thing. If you don't plan to run your 2022, it's going to end up running you, but there's something you can do about it because the you can actually take control of it. Here's the solution, the 2022 small business calendar, and here's where you get it from. Here's the call to action. So that's a visible outlay of what this particular matrix looks and feels like. Now, a lot of services don't do this because a lot of us go in very, very, very soft and very timid, and we're kind of not, we don't want to appear too salesy because we think that that will turn people off. But the reality is that if you're not salesy in some way, that clarity is lost, that clarity of message, which is, I need you to buy this calendar because it'll help you to organize your life next year. That's the reality, is that no one's going to want to, no one's even knowing that their life's going to be out of control next year because they're still immersed in the quagmire of 2020 and 2021. So if the idea of thinking ahead is like, oh yeah, actually that's true, this year got away from me, well, it's good to know there's something I can do about it. I might actually pick up that calendar because it sounds like something could really help me out. Oh, look, and there's where I buy it from. So you're not just creating a problem, you're actually you're making people aware of a problem that's potentially down the pipe. And then they see that there's something they can do about it. Okay, good, I feel good about that. So they're much more willing to accept the message that there is a solution right here, and here's where you get it from. Similarly, in stories, which are really well formatted to deliver these kind of things on Facebook and Instagram, is your scented candle making your best friend sick? You can choose fragrances that are better for canine health. Our range of natural scents are specifically formulated for homes with dogs. Order online now for a gorgeous home and a happy best friend. So it's presenting that there's a threat there, which there are certain scents and fragrances which actually make dogs sick. In case you didn't know this, tea tree oil, the smell of tea tree fragrance actually makes dogs really sick and should never use it in a house with dogs. It's actually, in high doses, is really bad for people too, but particularly bad for dogs. So try and keep tea tree oil scents out of your house if you've got dogs. Is your scented candle, is your tea tree oil, soy wax melt making your best friend feel sick? Well, yeah, there's something you can do about that. We've got a range. Here's what you do about it. And finally, here's the call to action. You can use cute photos of dogs. I just use stock photos on Canva to build this. And we can do that even maybe with a couple of the messages we got from before. So if I get out of this screen, we'll actually look again in Canva at some ideas that we might be able to build around, maybe start with Eve's, because we just did Eve's and I've got the words there. So if I'm going to create a design, let's just say it's an Instagram story or a Facebook story. So we can first of all say, we said in this one, the first time in history, we have access to all the information we need. So what we want to do is create a feeling of overwhelm. So information. So that feeling of overwhelm could be, no, maybe not even this, just a picture like this. So let's just take some of those words. We have access to more information than ever before. I'd like to make this a bit more bold and readable. Maybe make it in white. Bring it down a bit so it's a bit more readable. That's better. Next part of the story. So we're talking then about, here's a specific way to learn how to take back your personal power. So we can look at a picture of triumph, like a woman celebrating. I like her. She looks awesome. So take some text, put it in there. There we go. Then story number 3, we introduce the actual book. So I'm just going to find a book. Maybe just find some graphics of a specific book. One, not a pile of them. This one here, I like that color. Shows you how to block threats, outsmart manipulators. And what was the other wording we used? It was say no without guilt. So the layout of all this can be right down to, you know, we can do a lot more with the layout, make it a lot prettier. And then we have that call to action, which is see more online at evedye.com. So we'll look at where the website is. So we'll do a buy now, or order now. And then we put in where you can actually order it from. And you can just sort of do any kind of combination of things that are going to work for you. So I can put a little bit of a background in there of someone having a bit of success in their life onto the side. Bold and white. And so that's how you can then, not only are you getting a message that's simple, but you've got a message that's simple to then create into a story or into a series of carousel images, or even to put in the one story, or to write as copy into a website, or write as copy into a social media post. So in just what was probably took about 2 minutes, we were able to take someone's idea of a story, that threat circle, and turn it into something really easy to be able to use as an Instagram story. And that's just something I did based on 2 minutes. Imagine if you took 15 minutes to make that. You could actually make a much better set of graphics and are more well thought out and use better words. So this is and look, Alison, that's actually a really good point you're saying. You're saying, is this where you can put in a poll for more info? Yeah, you can put in a poll in there. You can say such things as, do you want to know where to get it? And people can say yes. And then the next part of the story is you can get it online now. So you can take that simplicity of message and add in a poll that says, do you want to find out more? Just be aware though, that when you start to add in complications to things, the message gets diluted. So the less the less panels we go through. So this case, it's 4 steps. And that's consumable. That's easy for people to work through. But the minute you add in complications and distractions, you're starting to dilute that message a bit. I think a little poll that says, hey, do you want to find out where to get it, is really cool, because they're going to get the payoff in the next slide. So that might be a 5th slide, which says, okay, you can order it here at evedye.com.au or on amazon.com. So it gives you that payoff. But just be aware, don't get too complex in it, because the whole key is here to make someone feel safe by keeping the message super, super clear. And the same thing goes with what your brand messaging is. This is following a lot of the same principles from the story brand principles from Donald Miller's book, Building a Story Brand. I know some of you have come across that before with webinars I've run before, but at the same time, this is something you can look at as a way of clarifying all your messages. You don't have, this is not your brand message. This is how to write an ad. This is how to write some website copy. This is not necessarily what your slogan is or what your brand's core message is. There's a good way of writing, of presenting an issue that someone didn't even know existed, and then very quickly providing a payoff and saying, but it's okay, there is a solution, and here it is, and you can get it. It's really simple to get. So for those of you doing courses and groups and programs, this is probably the most effective way you're going to do it. Is there is a problem that you don't really know you have, and now I've made you aware of it. I want to let you know it's okay, because there's a solution, and I've got the solution here. That's essentially all you're doing. You're going through that process of letting people know that there is something that they do need to address, but they need to do something about it. There's a call to action in the end that they do that about. So thank you so much for taking part in this afternoon. For those of you who came to this delayed version, I know it was meant to be an hour and a half or something earlier. There was a bit of a miscommunication between myself and Business Station there. Not their fault, all my fault. So blame me. But I'd like to thank you. Follow me, come along, watch the stuff on YouTube. And if you're looking at wanting to take some of these ideas and bring them into reality and get some help from a pro who's does this for his daily work, please feel free to sign up for a Business Station's digital solutions program. It's a new version of what was the ASBAS digital solutions. Now for $44, you get 3 hours of one-to-one. So you can choose who to do that with. You can do it with me if you like to. There's a ton of other amazing people in this program that you can do that with. But if you want to work with me, just specify when you sign up that you want to work with me. And then I'll guide you through those 3 hours, as well as another 4 hours of different webinars and different workshops you can take part in that'll help you along that journey to getting what your outcomes are. We're very much about setting goals this time and making sure you get those goals sorted at the end of the 7 hours of time. Over up to 3 months, you've got to complete it all. So it's not like you have to do it all in 1 week. So if you'd like to do that, please go along to businessstation.com.au and you can register for that online, and they'll let you know whether you qualify. If you've been on the previous ASBAS program, you probably won't. But if you're very new to all this, you may well qualify, and then you come through to work with myself or someone else. And it's just $44 for all that. That's amazing. I was actually thinking of wanting to do this with one of the other advisors myself to get some of my blind spots when it comes to the way I set up my business. So thank you. I'll see you on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and hopefully even see you in a one-to-one at some stage soon. Thank you. And I really do hope you have a fantastic week, and I'll see you in the next one.